pisses me off in my spirit. In my spirit. It's how they demand, ladies, that we have perfect bodies. We can't have no flaws. Them be the main ones with all them demands, with all of us being perfect. We gotta have perfect bodies. His ass built like the Mucinex man. You built like a whole booger. Every time you come in the room naked, your titties out, I'm like, fool, I'm questioning my sexuality. Yeah, I said it. Titties bigger than mine. They put so many demands. We had to have a perfect body, honey. Got to be the right height, the right weight, no excess weight, perfect titties, perfect ass, no stretch marks. Our knees and elbows got to be the same color. This chick's in here right now. She got so much cocoa butter on every time that bitch laughs, she's like. And they demand we have flat stomachs. Really? You know how many women in here want to laugh right now? But that waist trainer got her fucked up. She just sitting there sitting. She got to pee like a mofo, but she can't go to the bathroom. She missed the whole damn show trying to unsnap them 76 hooks. She just sitting in her seat, giggling and pissing, giggling and pissing. Gonna have your whole car smelling like a nursing home. Yeah, I said it. But it's so crazy to me because it's like, you know, as I've gotten older, it's like the dudes that try to holler at me get younger, you know what I'm saying? And I don't mind being a cougar, you know what I'm saying? I don't mind being a cougar, but I don't want just any kind of young dude, you know what I'm saying? I'd rather have one, you know, that's, you know, I don't want one going to school and good relationship with his parents. That's too much self-esteem, a bitch gotta keep up. Give me one with no hopes, no dreams, you know what I'm saying? For real, you know what I'm saying? I was riding around New York today looking for with no hope. I had my trunk full of young boy bait too, honey. You know, white t-shirts, Black and Miles, loose Newports, nickel bags of weed. I had a whole PS5. This all you, boo, this all you. I like them young bucks, because they impressed with simple shit, you know? Like a queen.
Oh my God. That is hilarious. And speaking as a man who's having a man boob struggle, that hit me hard. Welcome to How Do I Know You? The podcast with Carl Gilliard, that's me, where I bring on folk who I know and we talk about their creative journey. And I hope that you enjoy the podcast so far. This is podcast number 7 or 8. I don't know which one it is. So today's guest is very special to me and very special to my wife. In fact, well, I won't get into too much about her because we're going to have that conversation with her when she comes on. But she's family. Highly talented comedian, actor. I don't know if she writes. She probably does write, but author, mother, just great, wonderful, sweet person COCOA Brown is. So without further ado, introducing my friend, my sister, COCOA Brown.
Do I have coleslaw on my...
No, yeah, you have a bit of coleslaw. It's like on your nose right there. It's a little bit of coleslaw. You gotta wipe that thing down, okay?
Yeah, I'm like, I was getting it in, like, okay, like, hi.
My sister, where are you right now?
I am home. I literally just flew in this morning.
Wow.
DC, and, you know, oh my God, I'm sorry.
Your animals back there, huh?
Wow, what's up?
COCOA has animals out there. This is little ferocious animals.
Yeah, so unfortunately we have a very big deer problem here. So my dogs like to sit in the window waiting for Bambi and one of her friends to come by, and then they do that. So they're outside barking at the deer that they can't get to because I have a wonderful little invisible fence.
So how close are the deer to your house?
Oh, they get real close because I have like rose bushes like right in front of my house, and
Right.
they love the roses, and we keep trying to keep them away from my flowers, but so the dogs are my alarm. Let me know, hey, they're messing with your rose bush, Mom.
So you know, you call it a deer problem, but I love deer, and I thought that we'd have more deer near where we live, but I'm not seeing any deer, and I'm pissed off. I'm looking forward to seeing the animals.
Really? I don't know.
So why do you say it's a problem? Is because they eat your plants, or you have someone?
Tear my plants up. You know, I'm trying to plant stuff. You know, I'm trying to get my yard together. You know, with spring and summer. You know, And it's certain things that they absolutely love, and they just constantly are eating my vegetation. So you can look up in my yard, it looks like little munchkins have been in my yard just eating away.
Hilarious. How's my man Phoenix doing?
He's great. He's great. He's upstairs. We just got back from DC. We actually went to the Juneteenth celebration at the White House yesterday.
I saw that. I'm really jealous. Thank you for that.
And it was amazing. You know, of course, I'm just like, but the 11-year-old is like, okay, I'm over it because I don't know any of these people. And I'm like, bruh. But yet, when Kamala Harris came out and Joe Biden, he jumps up and runs towards the stage with his phone like that.
Are you serious?
So I said, woo, it wasn't a complete wash. All right.
Love it. Love it. That is a memorable memory.
Right. I mean, that's
word that he will never, ever forget ever in his life.
Yeah. Hopefully, because I asked him, I said, you'll appreciate this 10 years from now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've seen the White House in person twice, but I was never like within the gates. I wasn't in the yard. I was like in the back taking pictures and had to zoom in. Exactly.
You were rock at the White House. That's how
right.
You were, but it was amazing. I mean, the performances, the speeches, Oprah, the young lady, she's 92, I think. She's the creator she was the one who fought to get Juneteenth a national holiday. Okay. So this was the first one, and she spoke, and she was so spunky, and she was preaching to us. And I mean, I said, our president went from Joe Biden to JB yesterday because he was preaching. We was all in there like, oh.
Wow, that's I saw the post, so I knew where you were, and I'm like, wow, look at Phoenix out there in the White House.
It was great.
Look at Coco.
Yeah.
So,
with the Secret Service with himself.
What'd you say?
He was more fascinated with the Secret Service.
I bet.
He was so blown away. He's like, Mommy, I've never seen them that close and personal. They're like real. I'm like, yes, they did.
Yeah, they're very real. Very real. Very real. So, listen, thank you for coming on because Absolutely. I know how busy you are. And part of my research when I'm preparing this show is I get to dig deep into my friends' background and their resume and all of that. Okay. And I know you work all the time. And I know that you're vastly talented. But wow, the people you work with, the set you've been on, it's deep. And you're so good. But before we get to that, the first question I ask all my guests is how do we know each other? Do you remember how we met?
Bill Duke's acting class, and then Faithful Central. We met, I don't know if we met at the same time, or was Faithful Central before or after Bill Duke, but I know that I met you in one of those places, but I know that we really connected from Bill Duke's.
You know what? You threw me a curveball.
Why?
Because I think you're right. I feel like I knew you before then, or maybe it was that I heard of you before then. I don't know.
Okay.
But I think you're right. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, because those are the two things that always, I don't know which came first, but I know it was we went to the same church,
right?
And then Bill Duke's acting class.
You know what? It's funny. I'm getting clarity on this thing because I had two Bill Duke experiences. One was in '98, and you in 2009. And what I remember about you is that we had the drama ministry at Faithful Central that you were a part of.
Yes, I was.
And even the first Time to Laugh. Remember those sketch comedy shows we used to do?
Yep.
Time to Laugh. You even had a sketch in there that you wrote.
Yes.
Do you remember that? And then you had to go do something, maybe on the road or something. And so you actually were not even there for it, but we definitely shot the sketch, and the sketch was hilarious. Yeah. But I feel like when we were in the Faithful Central thing, I feel like that was my first introduction, but it was around the same time.
Yeah.
Because it was around the same time. So either way, it was either Faithful Central.
Because I was in the 2009 class.
You were. Yeah. And that class, sometimes I get lost with that class. Not that it wasn't memorable, but when I was actually in the class, and I was actually a student actor in the class, it was 1998. So
Okay.
for some reason, that one always rings for me. Whereas 2009, I have to say, we will talk about it later. There was a lot of drama there for me, a lot of craziness that was going on. We'll talk about it later. But great people in that class. Yourself, Imiyasi Korinaldi, Aaron Spears, Richard White. It was lots of really cool people in that class. But somehow I lose it. Joe Alvarez was in that class. But it was a good class, though. And the legacy of the Bill Duke Boot Camp is, when you start sacking it up, is pretty dang on incredible.
Baby.
Really, really good people.
I still have all those books. I still refer to those books. I use those books when I teach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, me too. And I still talk to Bill all the time, as you know.
Yes.
So
every time I see him, he always asks me. He goes, "Did you clear that place on your mantle for your award yet?" It's waiting. I dust it off every day.
Well, let's go into that a little bit. So, and I know your story because we talked about it. You started off in stand-up, right? Okay.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
I started in musical theater when I was 10 years old.
Right. So 10 years old.
10 years
and where
old.
were you living?
I was in Newport News, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing.
Okay.
My fifth grade teacher, Miss Sandra Marshall, still love her to death. She saw something in me, and she referred me to this program that was a musical theater program.
Mm-hmm.
And I did my first play at 10 years old. Did voice and musical theater all the way through college. I even minored in theater, but it didn't become like, this is what I'm going to really do with my life until after I graduated college and became a stand-up.
Do you sing?
I can, but my voice is so rusty. I haven't had it. Yeah, but I can carry a note. It may take me a while to get it. But
Right. Okay, so musical theater, started off at age 10, through high school. So then you went to college where?
I went to VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University.
And did you major in performing arts there? Performance arts there?
I majored in PR and advertising.
PR and advertising.
I minored in theater.
Well, we have some synergy there. That was my degree, was in communications and with a minor in political science, but the communication was basically public relations and advertising. That was the thrust behind it. And my first job was selling, and then I ended up working in advertising for about, LA Times for 9 years, and the Variety for 3, so 12 years in advertising. So we're kind of like cousins in there.
I know, and I did 5 years at Ringling Brothers, Feld Entertainment.
What'd you do for them?
I was the advertising coordinator. I was the
one
where all the billboards were up and the commercials ran and all of that when the circus or Disney on Ice came to town. That was my job.
And so where was that? Where were you located?
I was living in Northern Virginia. I was living on the Maryland side of the DMV. And I worked in Vienna, Virginia. On the other side, where Tyson's from.
So where did okay, so you're in advertising, and I almost know the answer to this question because it was also my experience, but I want to hear it from you.
Okay.
So at what point you're doing advertising? I'm assuming you're making some good money.
At my age, yeah.
At your age, yeah. I remember I got my first job for Kodak in 1981, and I was making $18,800 a year. And I thought that I was making a whole bunch of money with a company car and a business card with my picture on it. Boy, I went to happy hour handing out the business card to them women. Hey, baby, look at me. I got a company card and look at my car with my picture on it. Look at my tie on, baby. You know what I got. Come get it. Yeah. So, do you remember what you made when you first got into college? What your salary was?
$1,000, and you couldn't tell me nothing.
How much?
$28,000.
Hey, that's
and
good
you
money.
couldn't tell me nothing. Baby, I had my own apartment. I had a car. I was making $20,000 a year.
Right.
You couldn't tell me nothing.
See, that's what I'm talking about. My 18.8, that was in 1980, so I guess yours was around 1990-ish.
Mine was 95. 95.
Are you that much younger than me? I'm not going to ask you your age, but are you that much younger than me?
I just turned a big 50.
Okay, that makes sense. That's 15 years. Happy birthday. again.
Well, thank you. I didn't realize you were. Lord, okay, this is bad. I feel the same way. Okay.
Yeah, I turned 65 in April.
Oh my God, I would have considered you a dirty old man, Carl.
Woo! Hey, listen. You know, I remember the last time I was single. I was dating a young lady who was not dating, we were just kind of kicking it, if you want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she was like 34.
Oh wow.
And I must have been around, and I wasn't in my 60s, I was like 55, 56.
Okay.
And I was like, I couldn't believe this was happening, but she was into me.
Wow.
And she was really, really moist.
Oh Lord. Of course she was. She was nowhere near menopause, you know?
No, I don't mean it like that. I mean, just she was like, I don't mean it in a physical sense. I just mean, that might have been the wrong word. She was like just very supple and ready and just into it.
34, you know? Your hormones, bitch. You know, at 34, I don't even want to talk about what I was doing.
So you're at Ringling Brothers, and so when did the whole comic thing happen? Because as I remember your story, it was seemingly very innocuous and just unexpected. Or were you seeing yourself that way? So your musical theater, now you're Ringling Brothers, you're advertising, and you go to comedy.
Yeah.
So what was that like? How did that happen?
Honestly, a friend of mine, I always got to give him his props. His name was Onyx. We went to college together. Mm-hmm. And he called me one day. It was like a Friday night, like a Saturday or something. And he was like, yo, do you want to go with me to a barbecue? And I was like, yeah. And we went to this barbecue, didn't know it was the house of Chris Paul, who at the time was on the Donnie Simpson morning show. And him and his business partner, Pop, had a comedy club. Mm-hmm. And I just went to the barbecue. And by the end of the night, Pop, who was also his manager, as well as his business partner, was like, you ever thought about doing stand-up because you're funny? And I was like, no. He said, you come down to the club, do open mics sometime. So, of course, you know, I'm not scared of a stage, you know, with theater and everything in my background. I said, I ain't never tried stand-up. Why not? You know, I'm like,
right.
So, went down there and caught myself trying to tell some jokes. The audience stared at me. I panicked and yelled, well, I don't need this anyway. I work for the circus. And the crowd and I said, no. I said, oh, y'all think I'm out here juggling monkeys. No, I'm not. And I'm talking. Got my little 4 minutes over with. When I came off stage, the man who would end up being my mentor, who would teach me the game, the fabulous fat doctor, Darcel Bleshmeyer, he came up to me and he said, young lady, he goes, I normally don't do this. He said, when I first see somebody, I got to see him a few times. He said, but you, my dear, have it. You just need to know what to do with it because you just learned something that takes most comics a decade to learn. And I said, what's that? He goes, what's real is what's funny. So when you went into like being yourself and you stopped trying to tell a joke and be a comedian and you just were you, he said, oh my God, if she knows what to do, I could teach her what to do with this. And he was my mentor up until he passed away in 2020.
Wow. What a great story. And it's just a story about how God's serendipity, which is what I call it.
Yeah.
Is how these they kind of converge and meet and lead you to where you're supposed to go.
Exactly.
And I, you know, with regard to your stand-up, you know, I've known you for a long time, as we've established, but I had never, and I think I told you this, I had never seen your stand-up before until I'm on a plane and I see, you see the screen there?
Yeah.
And I watched the entire thing and I laughed I almost said ass off. This is a family show. I laughed my ass off. Oops, too late. I laughed my ass off. And you know what struck me about you, your work as a comic that is to me interesting and different is the way you have, your delivery is so rapid fire and perfect. You know what I'm saying? You have a way of, and I did it in the clip that I showed earlier on this program.
Yeah.
You have a way of, so do you like write this material and learn it like a script, or do you do this like off the top of your head?
I used to write my jokes completely out. And then when I found myself trying to tell the joke exactly how I'd written it, it didn't seem organic to me. So I literally would take the jokes and then I would go on stage and like have this conversation with that information in my head.
Right.
So it would become out more conversation and more how I talk. You've been around me. You know I talk fast.
Exactly. Right.
When I went overseas for the first time, I'm going over there with proven material and the audience is staring at me. And I'm like, what's wrong? Why are they not laughing? And the guy goes to me, Healthy, you got to slow down. They can't understand you. You're going fast for them. You have to slow your joke. And I was like, oh. So when I went up there and paced myself and slowed down, the audience is going crazy. And I said, okay, I have to slow down. So it's like, for me, it's like when I get in that zone, I don't know what pace. Because there are times, like Fat Doctor taught me that your set should be peaks and valleys.
Right.
And for a long time, I was straight peak. That's all I did. It was like, I hit the stage and it was like a rocket. But now when I go on stage, I take my time. It's like sometimes I'll sit back and I'll talk and then I'll go rapid fire and I'll be like, yeah, Because at this point, I'm securing my material. I know what I'm going to say. But it's like my delivery, it'll just depend on how I want this joke to come out at that particular moment.
Right. And I picked that up. I noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
And how you it's like, well, obviously successful and the great comedians are storytellers.
Yeah.
So and when you juxtapose or compare that to even a feature film or a television show, it's peaks and valleys and it's beats and all that stuff.
Right.
For it to really communicate effectively.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking about though is just like there was certain, like when you're talking about men.
Yeah.
And talking about how men expect certain things, it was just rapid fire, just all these different things coming out.
Uh-huh.
And and that's what I noticed when I watched it, and I was convicted. I said, I got to get this estrogen out of my breasts. I got to do something. You convicted me. I said, thank God. I said, when I remember around Coco, I'm going to wear a different kind of shirt. I do not want her to see that I got some man titties going on right here.
Right. The hormones kicking in, and it's funny because, my ex-husband inspired that joke.
I bet. I bet. So anyway, on the comedian tip again, the only comic that comes off the top of my head who did that successfully, but he did it all the time. It was his whole act was this, but is Robin Williams. Because I'm trying to think, there's lots of great comedians out there, but I don't see many doing that so flawlessly and clean like that.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, there's comics who have that rapid fire. I know Fat Doctor used to fuss at me a lot and say, Coca, stop stepping on your laughs.
Right.
I was in its zone and it'd be like, brrr. Sharon Osbourne on America's Got Talent called me a comedy machine gun.
Were you on there?
Yeah, early back in the day. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know. See what I'm saying? Yeah. And when I was going through your resume, I said, okay, what am I gonna talk about? So I'm gonna talk about. No, I can't talk about that. You did so much. I'd be here talking to you for 2 hours. But I want to move away from the comedy for a second because this is where it gets interesting. Let me just say this: as an actor, I do find that many of our greatest actors are comedians. That doesn't mean that all comedians can be actors. There's certain comedians should not be acting. But many greats, I mean, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy. I think Mike Epps is a really good actor.
I think he's an amazing dramatic actor.
Yeah. So how did that happen? I mean, obviously you have the musical theater background, but what was your first professional job? Let me ask it that way. Professional television film job.
Professional job was a Capital One commercial that never aired. That's what got me my SAG card.
I hate those. I hate when that happens.
But my first major thing that was like, oh, this is big, was Lakeview Terrace with Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, yes. It's funny. I saw that. I saw the movie, but was that a big part? Or small?
No. But I will say this. Sam saved my lines because they didn't want me to. I had lines. I had a quarter lines. And the director was like, probably don't need to say anything, whatever. And Sam said, well, hold up. I ain't going to be able to talk to myself. You need to respond to me. I was like, oh. And he saved my line. So I was like, thank you, Sam.
It's always nice to have a star who's number one on the call sheet to step in with people.
Right.
Yeah. Bernie Mac did that for me. I did his show and I didn't have nothing to say much. And he did the same for me. No, I can't have him not talk nothing. I mean, he just really helped me. And it was such a sweet dude. He was just wonderful. It's really cool. I worked with Sam on Coach Carter too.
You sure did.
Yeah.
So
So
funny because I was watching Coach Carter the other day and I said, Lord, I didn't realize Coach was in it. Okay.
yeah, Sam and Octavia Spencer both in that scene. Yeah.
Yep.
So okay, so Lakeview Terrace,
Mhm.
and then what about television? So you have a very strong resume in television. I mean, 911, For Better or Worse. But I want to talk about that for a second. I think I told you the story. Let's talk about For Better or Worse.
Okay.
So when the show first came on,
Mhm.
I watched it primarily because I knew, well, not just you, but I knew Tasha and I knew Kiki and I knew Kent. So I watched it, first season or two, but then I kind of fell off of it.
Mhm.
And I didn't watch it anymore. Fast forward to our move out here.
Mhm.
I started watching it again, like in the hotels. And I started watching, like, we would flash my Amazon onto the screen. And I was watching, we binged the entire show in like maybe a week.
Wow.
And I loved that show. And what caught me off guard was you and Kent getting into a relationship. I'm like, what the hell?
Right. People were like so here for that, Jennifer Richard relationship because it was so unexpected.
Right.
And like people were like sending in like petitions, like when our show ended, they were like, do a spin-off of Jennifer and Richard, please.
Hey, well, you know what? They should do something. As I told you before, when I saw the end of the show and I saw there was no more episodes, I was pissed.
Everybody was.
I was pissed.
Weekly, I get asked what happened when you guys coming back, and I'm like,
oh my God. You know how, and then
it's possible, but
it was such a cliffhanger because I didn't know when I was watching the last episode that was the last episode. I was like, what the hell? What the?
Nobody did.
It's gotta be another. It's like, okay, you know how you just can't believe it? You just like take the thing and just, what?
Yep, nobody did.
Oh man, what a hanger that was.
Yeah.
So that experience was like, you worked with Tyler several times, but what was that experience like for you working on that show in particular?
It was a wealth of emotions. Beginning, it was like that was my first series regular role.
Oh, it was?
Yes, that was my first series regular role, and Tyler Perry gave me so much freedom to make Jennifer mine. Even though he kind of had this little box he wanted her in, he still let me play a little bit, give her a little bit more depth than just being the funny, well, as I used to say, the fat, funny, sad kid, honey, but I ain't fat. And it was like, it was that freedom of being able to play with her, and I look forward to playing her. There were times that there were episodes that hit home for me. And, and I had to really like take Farah, which is my real name, out of the equation and just be Coco. The show ending was bittersweet. We didn't see it coming.
Right.
It happened right abruptly. There was never really any real closure like to the show because I think we had 2 more seasons left. And then
Right.
we're done, and so that was pretty bittersweet, but everybody's gone on to do their own thing and everybody's successful in their own right. But yeah, it was definitely an experience. The one thing I can say I learned from that show and working with Tyler was, I can learn a lot of lines real fast.
I heard Assembly Line City.
I mean, when I tell you that was some boot camp for ya, and I mean, I remember seasoned vets, OGs coming on our show and having full meltdowns because they could not understand how we were doing 3 episodes a week. Yeah.
Well,
it ain't but a week.
Tyler changed the game in terms of television production. With the way in the South, because now you look around and there's a lot of people. In fact, the entire all black slate.
Yeah.
How they do everything on that. Do you watch that network by any chance at all? All Black?
I have not gotten into all black. I know so many people on that that streaming service, that network. I have yet to watch it.
They do a similar thing with how quickly they shoot things. It's like they just knock them all out. Yeah, they're very short season. They do 412 episodes in 12 days. That kind of thing is crazy. Yeah. So, but you know, what I love about your work too is the same kind of thing that I am trying to create for myself, and that is that, you know, you are not just black famous. Yeah. You're not just on black shows. Yeah. You know, here's a show here that I know you're gonna love this show right here.
Yes, that is so not black.
So it is not black at all, and not only is it not black, but your ass is hilarious in it. I love playing principal. Your ass. Let me tell you, I can't play really the dialogue in this scene. We're gonna talk about it while I run it because I just think that it's hilarious. Look at this. So this scene right here, you know, when I saw the scene, I was cracking up. And if you remember, I recorded it and sent it to you because I was laughing so hard. This is classic comedy in the situation, not overplayed. Look at you. You know, so, okay, so I'm not going to ask you. Let me just ask you this, because I've asked some of my other guests this before. Okay, do you still audition?
Yes.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so what percentage of your jobs are straight offer, just in your estimation, versus jobs that are straight offer or audition that you book? Can you estimate that for me? Do you think you can do it?
If I had to say, I would say 40-60. 40 are offers, 60 are auditions.
Okay.
If I had to give a rough estimate, 40-60. Mm-hmm. 40,
yeah. I don't work as often as you, but that's about what mine is too. About 40-60. Yeah.
40-60.
Yeah. And I, you know, my mentor back in the day was a man by the name of Cy Richardson. Do you know Cy Richardson?
Yes.
Yeah. So Cy was a very early mentor of mine. Okay. And he told me, he said, Carl, once you get 10 directors, casting, producer, whoever has the power to hire you in your pocket, you will work all the time. Yeah. I ain't got 10. I got maybe 3, 4, maybe 4.5.
Yeah.
You know, but I had a guest on.
I have more casting directors than I do. Well, more casting directors than I do directors. But I have my directors. A lot of like up and coming independent, like, you know, they call and they're like, Coke, you know, I know I ain't got all the money you get, you know. But, you know, casting director wise, I've built a really good relationship with a lot of casting directors. I was that one that when I booked something, I would send the edible arrangements to casting directors. I was that girl. Yeah.
I did that in my early days. I used to send
in my early days. That's what.
Yeah. I used to send muffins to people. You know, one of my favorite stories was back in the day. Stan Lathan and I were very cool. Stan used to hire me back when he was on Rock and stuff, and we formed a kind of a slight friendship. And I remember sending him some muffins. You know, to his office. It was some office in Hollywood, and I have to tell you my Stan Lathan story because that was a situation that I totally blew. I blew it.
Really?
We're cool. If I see him, we're cool. But it's, you know, that dude loved me. He was really nice to me back in the day. Back when he was doing Rock. Yeah. When he was on that show, that's how he and I got to be cool.
Wow.
Rock. Yeah.
That's how it was for me with John Singleton.
Yeah.
John saw so much more in me than just that little comedy box, and he was playing chess with me before he, you know, passed. He was like, I wouldn't be on 911 if it wasn't for John.
Tell me your John Singleton story. That's I want to hear about that.
You know, the first time I ever met him was at Bill Duke's boot camp. And that was the first time I ever met John. And then John came to Mo Better Mondays one night at the improv and saw me on stage. And at the time, he was really contemplating doing a Baby Boy 2. And he wanted me to play this character that was somehow either friends with Yvette's character, Taraji's character, or whatever. We ended up having lunch and we talked about it, we fleshed about it. me, him, and D. Ray Davis did like a little screen kind of test because I guess he and I were going to have some scenes or whatever. And then, of course, that was the time that Taraji got Benjamin Buttons. And she skyrocketed. At that point, she didn't feel, I guess, what's the point of going back to do Baby Boy 2 when I'm going this direction?
Well, you know, Taraji met John Singleton at the Bill Duke Boot Camp in 1998.
Wow.
That's a true story. She met him there. He used to tell the story about how, and I was there obviously as a student, but I was also a monitor. I was, over the class with two other. Taraji was
was power.
Yeah, it was Taraji, myself, and LaLanya Masters. We were the monitors.
Yeah.
And then of course the others. Anthony Anderson, Shamar Moore, Lisa Ray, all of that. But John came to the class, and he used to tell the story how that Taraji was one of the only people who wasn't trying to rush the stage to meet him. He was just sitting back. But I guess he had seen a scene she didn't because he would stay and watch the scenes, and he remembered her. So when she came in to audition, he remembered her from the class. Yeah. And the rest is history.
Yeah. Wow.
Because that was a big, even though she did obviously wanted to do other things, Baby Boy was her really kind of launch in the feature films.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So interesting. So I want to go back and ask you one more question about the Big Door Prize.
Okay.
Did you audition for that?
I did. Wow. Yep. I auditioned for Principal Pat, but there was no callbacks. It was a straight offer. After I sent in my tape. And like a couple of days later, they were sitting.
I love that. It feels like the best roles, at least for me, this is true, so far, are like that. Mm-hmm. You don't jump through a whole lot of hoops. You just go in, you do your thing, you send it in, and boom, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there have been times that I haven't had to do a lot of callbacks. Mm-hmm. It's either I get it or I don't. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I know recently, it was so funny, it just happened. I was auditioning, putting something on tape, and I always send it to my agent and my manager as well as the casting, when I send it off. And my manager called and said, hey, I know you've been a little off with everything, with all this been going on. He said, but I know you can do better than that. Do it again. And I said, oh. So a part of me was kind of offended, like, what, But then I said, okay, all right, okay. But then when I went back and did it again, I did it completely different. So then the young lady who does my self-tapes, she said, I'm going to tell you right now, I thought the first take had a whole different personality. Right. She goes, I'm a symbol. Mm-hmm. And that's what she did. And what's crazy, they called and was like, what's her availability? Is she ready? And I was like trying to figure out, well, which audition did they like? I wanted to know which one they liked, so I knew which one to play. I'm like, I don't know.
Wow. So listen, we're about to stop this thing, and I appreciate your time, but I didn't want this to end without me thanking you for all of the love and support you given my wife and I since moving to Atlanta, and to let the world know that you were an integral part of the influencing this decision.
You tell everybody that like I made you. Now everybody in LA mad at me. You took all that lie on me.
Well, there were a few. There were like 3 people, but I remember talking to you on the phone when I was here working on that time 2-3 years ago. Yeah. And when you said, and this is a true story, I tell my wife this, when you said 5,000 square foot house for this price point, I said,
sitting on an acre and a half.
Yeah. And funny, over that 2 years, that is pretty much over.
Yeah.
But
that's, you can still get way more house and land.
Absolutely.
For what you pay, where you wouldn't even be able to get anything.
Absolutely. No, it's no comparison to LA.
Like the one thing I will say about Georgia, a $1.5 million house looked like a $1.5 million house.
Right.
Okay,
right.
Like it looked like MTV Cribs. It looked like you spent a grip. Where I just could never wrap my brain around LA. And they were like, yeah, it's $1 million too. And I'm like, but it's a shack.
It's a shack. Exactly. That's my word. Exactly. Shack. That was my word and you said it. Mm-hmm. It's
I
a
just
shame.
wrap my brain around it. Okay.
Oh my God. So my God. Thank you so much. And then you're such a great friend of my wife too, and she loves
I
you.
love
So
when I tell you she don't know. Can you just tell your wife she saved me from years of heartache from that relationship? And I just want to thank her. I just want to thank her for being honest with me and open me and telling me to run.
yeah,
She's the oracle. She's the oracle.
She is good for that.
Man.
She would tell ya.
She told me.
Mm-hmm.
Baby, within a week, I was like, I was free.
Oh my God. So Coco, thank you for being on How Do I Know You?
Thank you for having
Love you,
me.
sis.
Oh, and
And
just give you your props and your flowers. That interview with Roger was everything.
yeah, I liked it too. I liked it myself. He's great. He's great.
When I tell you, I've studied that man. I've studied him since God. Yeah, we're talking way back, school days. We're talking Smiley, do the right thing. Like when I saw you interviewing him, I was like this on the
Yeah, thank you. I liked it myself, and this is a blessing to be able to do this with so many wonderful people. And look out for yours in about a month.
Okay, man.
Thank you, Coco. I'm gonna go out on one of your stand-ups here, my dear. Love you.
I will let you know when I'm in town. Love you too.
Okay, bye.
Okay, who the bitch you keep looking at behind me? I only date chicks with good credit. Ooh, that turns your ass down to cricket, okay? I only date chicks with pretty toes and pretty feet. Every time you take your shoes off, small animals die in a 5-mile radius. Oh, equal talent, 12 years a slave, walking in burning sands ass, crushed ass, coal miner ass daughter, running for your freedom ass, fucked up feet, cause your mama, crunched up toes, cause your mama ain't buy the right size shoes when you was little. Oh, monkey paw having ass. Every time you go barefoot, you pick up spare change and lint.